Welcome to a journey back in time to the year 1769, a year shrouded in mystery and marked by a chilling murder that shocked the small town of Newark. Amidst the panic and the hunt for justice, one man was swiftly tried and sentenced to hang for the crime. But as the noose tightened around his neck, whispers of doubt began to circulate. Join us today as we delve into history and seek to answer the haunting question: was the right man hanged? Let's find out. Mr. Thomas Burrell of Newark was murdered on the 17th of February 1769. He was a pawnbroker aged 79 years. A short time before his death, he had taken a watch in pawn for 30 shillings from a man named William Hebb, who resided at Claypole in Nottinghamshire. The simple timepiece became the catalyst for a dark deed. Hebb, along with his brother Daniel and cousin Thomas More, formed a scheme to recover the watch without paying for the return of it, a plan that would have dire consequences. Their first attempt did not go as planned, so they tried again on the 17th of February. Mr. Thomas Burrell went about his day unaware of the shadow looming over him. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the three men were seen by several people leaving Mr. Burrell's house, and were heard saying that they had done for the old rogue. Mr. Burrell lived alone, and no one was known to have entered the house after this until the next day, when the poor man was found on the floor having been strangled. News of Burrell's murder spread like wildfire, and the authorities launched a full-scale investigation. Suspicion arose against William Hebb and his associates, and they fled but were apprehended at Welburn in Lincolnshire and brought to Newark by a guard of constables. They were all questioned for 12 hours until William Hebb made a confession. He said that he himself was the murderer and explained the events of that day. He said that under the pretense of treating the old man, they took some gin with them into which they put 2 ounces of laudanum, and while Mr. Burrell was in a profound sleep, he strangled him. He explained that they went on to remove everything from the premises that they could secrete on their persons. After the confession, the magistrates fully committed the 3 men for trial. More than 20 witnesses were examined in relation to the charge. With the evidence given as well as William's confession, the jury found William Hebb alone guilty and acquitted Daniel Hebb and Thomas More. The convicted was sentenced to death on the Friday, 2 days after the trial, at Gallows Hill in Nottingham. In a strange twist to the case, the evening before William was executed, he expressed a desire that his cousin Thomas More, who was tried with him for the murder, might be allowed to do the fixing of the rope. For this, he thought, might have a good effect and tend greatly to work a reformation in him. Why would he make such a request? Was it a silent accusation, a way of implicating his cousin in his final moments because Thomas was the real killer? Or was William really trying to put his cousin back on the right track and make him realise that he needed to make better choices in the future? Either way, the authorities agreed to the request. During the wait between trial and execution, William appeared quite resigned and expressed no uneasiness apart from his dislike of having to be anatomised. His friends assured him that his remains would be interred. His deceiving friends procured a shroud and had it carried to his cell by the prison officer. At 10 o'clock on the Friday morning, the clergyman had called to assist him in his devotions, at which William expressed great joy and immediately joined him in prayer. The procession to the gallows set out at 11 o'clock. William and Thomas were placed in the cart, and on the passage through Nottingham and up the hill, William appeared surprisingly cheerful. A crowd had gathered around the top of Mansfield Road, their morbid curiosity drawing them to witness the grim spectacle. When within sight of the gallows, William begged the singers to begin the penitential psalm. According to records, he joined in with such amazing alacrity that his voice was distinguished by the numerous auditors to be superior in strength to all who were engaged in the service. A few minutes before the execution, William asked for all young persons, especially those with whom he had ever been acquainted, to come near. He asked that they would all take warning by his untimely death and refrain from conversation of lewd women and gaming which, if pursed as he had unfortunately done, would end in the destruction of body and soul. It was time, but Thomas More could not fulfill the task he had been given by his cousin. William had to fix the noose himself, which he was very careful to stretch and properly adjust. Then, according to an account, William took a piece of paper from his pocket, kissed it earnestly, pressed it in his right hand, recommended his soul to God who gave it, and in the most heroic manner imaginable, launched into the other world. While hanging, the paper was taken from his hand, which proved to be a most tender letter from his wife. The corpse was removed to St. Anne's Well, where it was dissected by 2 surgeons. An account in the Newark and Nottingham Mercury, 58 years after the event, suggested that after this the body was taken by his father, a respectable farmer, to Claypole to be interred at St. Peter's churchyard. There is a grave for William in this graveyard, however I'm not sure if he was buried straight away or some years after. Another account said that the bones of the malefactor, for many years after, were arranged on wires and ornamented the studio of a medical gentleman. William left behind a wife and 2 children. Daniel, his brother, went on to marry in October of the same year and had 5 children. There was a Thomas More who married in March 1770 in Claypole. However, I cannot be certain that this is the same person. Horrifically, on the 17th February 1769, Mr. Burrell's life was taken and only 3 men knew the truth. Did the right man get sentenced? Was there more to the story? Did the secret die with William? We will never know. Thank you for joining us on Historical Crime Chronicles. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification button to keep up to date with more episodes. See you next time.